The fabric of the black dress feels foreign against my skin as I stand before my 7-year-old son's casket. Nathan should be here beside me, offering support, sharing in this unthinkable burden. Parents aren't supposed to bury their children, but as I lay our son to rest, my husband is on a beach in Hawaii with his mistress. I know this because a photo came through on my phone just moments ago. Nathan, tanned and smiling, holding a drink, his arm wrapped around a blonde no older than 30. The caption, "Thought you should know what your husband is really up to today. A concerned friend." My mother's hand tightens around my arm. "Gabriel, you're trembling." I am. My phone shakes in my hand, and I shove it into my purse, the weight of it feeling like an accusation. The murmurs around the chapel grow louder. Nathan's absence at his own son's funeral will be the talk of the town for a long time. "I'll make him pay," my mother mutters. "That bastard." The tiny white casket glimmers under the soft chapel lights, surrounded by roses, Lucas's favorite. He adored how food coloring could turn their pale petals into deep blues and purples. We spent hours together in the hospital, experimenting with colors just to bring him a smile through his pain. Nathan's parents stand quietly on the periphery, their faces unreadable. Linda, my mother-in-law, briefly meets my gaze before turning away. She knows. She always knew. The funeral director steps forward. "Are we ready to begin?" I want to shout that this isn't how it's supposed to be. Lucas should be at home, playing games, but instead, I nod and take a seat in the front row. My phone buzzes again. A message from Nathan. "Sorry I couldn't be there. I had an important meeting. We'll make it up to you." A flare of anger shoots through me, momentarily overtaking my sorrow, leaving a cold, sharp bitterness. I delete the message. Let him enjoy his vacation while I suffer. He's wrong if he thinks this is over. I'll destroy him, not just for abandoning Lucas in his final days, not for skipping his funeral, but for every betrayal he's ever committed. One by one, I'll take everything from him. The gathering at my parents' house feels like a rehearsed performance, everyone playing their parts. In the kitchen, Linda approaches me. "Nathan's struggling," she says, her voice dripping with false concern. "We all grieve differently." I push her away, focusing on the untouched cookies. "Grieving in Hawaii, huh?" Her lips tighten. "You've always been so dramatic, Gabriel. If you'd only been more understanding." "Don't you dare." My mother steps in, fury in her eyes. "Don't you blame my daughter for your son's cowardice." Linda stiffens, her composure cracking. "Margaret, now is not the time." "It's exactly the time." My mother takes a step closer. "While my daughter sat by a hospital bed for months, where was Nathan? While my grandson fought for his life, where were you and Robert?" A sharp sound interrupts, the crunch of a cookie crushed in my hand. In the living room, my father asks a guest about his newspaper for the third time, oblivious to the drama unfolding in the kitchen. "We contributed financially," Linda says stiffly. "Ah, yes, your precious money." My mother spits. "Does Nathan know about the trust fund? The one Robert's father set up for his great-grandchildren?" Linda goes pale. "This is the first I'm hearing of it," she says, but it's clear she's lying. "That's a family matter," she snaps. "Lucas was family," I say quietly, "the only great-grandchild. That money was meant for him." The tension in the room thickens. Linda's mask slips, revealing something far darker. All those times she pushed Nathan away from Lucas, it wasn't neglect. It was intentional. "I think it's time for you to leave," my mother says coldly, but Linda is already backing away, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. I turn to my mother. "Tell me everything about that trust fund." Her smile is grim. "This is just the beginning of what I've uncovered." 3 days after the funeral, I discover the life insurance documents in Nathan's office, scattered across his desk, forms, receipts, and a sticky note with "Call Sammer policy." My hands tremble as I go through them. There it is, Lucas's life insurance policy, $2 million. My breath catches. The beneficiary, Nathan Thompson, sole recipient, my name crossed out, dated weeks before Lucas passed. A message pops up, an unknown number. "We need to talk. Coffee shop on Main. Now. Samantha." Samantha, the woman from the photo in Hawaii, the same name from the sticky note. I find her exactly where she said she'd be, looking perfectly polished, like someone who's had everything handed to her. She doesn't rise as I approach. "I'm surprised you showed up," she says without meeting my gaze. "I'm surprised you dared to contact me." She finally looks up, her eyes steely. "Nathan's promised me everything, a fresh start, a new life together." Her laugh is bitter. "All paid for with your son's insurance money." The world tilts. I grab the edge of the table to steady myself. "He told you about that?" "He tells me everything," she says, pulling out her phone. She shows me texts, bank statements, photos, a digital trail of lies. Nathan and Linda, conspiring. Nathan at casinos with loan sharks while our son was in pain. I'm not the villain here, Samantha says softly. I'm just another pawn in his game. But unlike you, I've got nothing left to lose. I stand up, my chair scraping loudly. You're wrong about one thing, I say. I have nothing left to lose either. Samantha's smile is all teeth. Maybe we should help each other then. Later, I find my father sitting in Lucas's room, holding a worn stuffed penguin. It had gone with Lucas to every hospital visit. You look just like your mother when she's planning something dangerous, he says. I sit next to him on the bed. Dad, do you remember what we talked about yesterday? He strokes the penguin's matted fur. No, but I remember Lucas talking about the trust fund. His brow furrows. Was that real? My heart skips. What trust fund, Dad? The one Nathan's father wanted to discuss. Robert came here when Lucas was sick. Said something about protecting family assets. He gazes off, lost in thought. Did I dream that? I take his hand. No, Dad. When was this? Your mother was at the hospital with Lucas. Robert brought papers. His grip tightens, and it's stronger than I expected. I didn't sign the papers. They didn't feel right, like sensing danger without seeing the threat. Suddenly, everything clicked. Robert's visit, Linda's schemes, Nathan's sudden interest in our land. It wasn't just about Lucas's insurance money. They wanted everything. My phone buzzes again. Samantha's message. Nathan's back. Meeting with his lawyer tomorrow about property transfers. My father's voice wavers as he says, I should have shielded you better, both of you. You did, Dad, I whisper, clutching his hand. By not signing those papers, I rise, resolve building within me. Now, it's my turn. He holds out the penguin. Lucas knew. He told me not to worry about you. You're tougher than you think, my father adds. His eyes clouded. Who's Nathan? The pain of watching him slip away mingles with fierce resolve. I take the penguin, its soft weight grounding me. My phone buzzes. Uncle Peter, found something in the property records. Come to my office now. I kiss my father's forehead. I have to go, but I promise, they won't take anything else from this family. Uncle Peter's office is a fortress of documents. He shows me the records, property transfers dating back to when Lucas first became ill. They'd been plotting for months. Shell companies, hidden accounts, all roads lead to Nathan and his parents. Here's the twist, Peter says, pulling up a file. They used Lucas's medical bills as a reason to sell your shared assets urgently. Everything's been moved to inaccessible accounts. A knock on the door. It's Samantha. Nathan's meeting got moved up. He's at the lawyer's office now. Peter checks his watch. That's impossible. Samantha shrugs. Linda changed it. They're signing everything today. My phone buzzes again. A text from Nathan. We need to discuss the house. Coming by later. I square my shoulders. Show me everything. For the next hour, Peter and I go through the evidence, property transfers, hidden gambling debts, Linda's dismantling of our wealth. My blood boils as we connect the dots. There's one more thing, Samantha says, showing us a recording. Nathan's voice fills the room, conspiring with Linda to exploit my father's condition. The recording ends. In the silence, I hear Lucas's voice in my mind. Promise me, Mom, you won't let them take our home. Peter's voice breaks through. We can stop them, but we have to act now. No, I'm not just stopping them, I say. I pull out Lucas's penguin and place it on Peter's desk. I'm taking everything back, and I'll make sure they never hurt anyone again. Samantha's lips curl into a faint smile. I was hoping you'd say that. I know where they've hidden the real estate contracts. Get your coat. We're going to Nathan's lawyer's office. The penguin watches as the three of us step into the night. At the lawyer's office, Nathan sits across from us, flanked by Linda and Robert. The stack of documents between us feels like a wall of deceit. Nathan pushes the papers toward me. You're making this harder than it has to be. Just sign for Lucas. I grip the USB drive in my pocket. Don't you dare say his name, I growl. Linda leans in, feigning sympathy. Gabriel, darling, grief makes people. Samantha cuts her off, striding forward with her phone. Show them. She plugs the USB into the lawyer's computer, and the projector flickers to life. The evidence rolls across the screen. Property transfers, forged signatures, recordings of Nathan and Linda conspiring against my father. It's over, I say. Nathan's smile falters. Actually, Nathan says, tossing a folder onto the table, imagine how damaging these could be for your family. Inside the folder are photos, Peter with criminals, questionable bank transfers, Emails hinting at tax fraud. Linda's voice oozes with venom. We can make this all disappear, or we can destroy everything you have left. Your choice. Peter protests, but Nathan interrupts. You have until tomorrow morning. Choose wisely. They leave, their threats hanging in the air. The projector continues cycling through the evidence. They won't stop, Samantha whispers. They'll take everything, piece by piece. I stare at Lucas's hospital photo on the screen. Nathan, as usual, is nowhere in sight. No, I say, steady, my boy, steady, they won't take anything else. It's time we stop playing their game. That night, my mother's kitchen becomes a war room. She lays out her own evidence, years of surveillance, bank statements, recordings. I've been tracking Nathan's schemes since Lucas's first hospital stay. My mother says, I knew something was off when he started pressuring your father about the property. Peter pores over the documents. These transfers, they're legally binding, but not what Nathan thinks. A knock at the door. Samantha enters. Recording. They're on their way. Linda convinced Nathan, tonight's the night. Perfect timing, my mother says, her eyes gleaming. Peter pulls up more files, every property Nathan tried to steal, all legally transferred into a trust in Lucas's name. How? I ask, stunned. Your father had clearer days than they realized, Margaret says. We made sure everything was properly signed and notarized while Nathan was distracted. Car doors slam outside. Peter's voice is urgent. Let them think they're in control. When Nathan bursts in, he smirks until Samantha presses play. The recordings, Nathan and Linda confessing to fraud and plotting against my father, fill the room. You set us up, Nathan snarls. No, I say, coldly, my boy, you set yourself up. Everything's been sent to the FBI. Linda lunges for her folder, but my mother snatches it. Looking for these? She asks, voice steel. Funny thing about evidence, she says, it works both ways. Nathan's face twists in rage. You can't. I already have. The only question now, I say, is how far you want to take this, because I'm ready to lose everything to make sure you lose more. The silence that follows is deafening. The next morning, I visit Lucas's grave. I place his penguin on the stone. You'd be proud, Lucas, I whisper. We protected what mattered. My father joins me, more lucid than usual. Lucas told me not to worry. He said you'd find your strength. I smile softly. Did he? He nods. Funny thing about strength, he says, it sometimes looks like revenge, but it's really just love wearing armor. As we leave, a butterfly lands on Lucas's headstone. Let it be, I tell my father as he reaches for it. The butterfly takes flight, free and unburdened, and for the first time, I understand what it means to let go. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay stunned.